As we celebrate Heroes Day and Defense Forces Day, let us take time to appreciate the sacrifices made for our freedom. Freedom to chart our own economic course.
Buyane anda kufawa chita urashua Kuchitina tora seinika inoshokori mwera wakati uza Chora gidi ushitonge Buyane anda kufawa chita urashua Kuchitina tora seinika inoshokori mwera wakati uza Chora gidi ushitonge.
What we want is majority rule and independence for Zimbabwe. And it must be majority rule and independence. And the power must be to the people.
The fact that Smith has no intention to abandon his racist domination of the African people in Zimbabwe leaves us with no option but to intensify the armed struggle. While the Smith regime continues to employ various tactical maneuvers to subvert moves towards genuine independence, dangerous and unrealistic ideas are being thrown about by the United Kingdom government. These dangerous ideas include promises to lift economic sanctions on condition that Smith allowed little more token powers to his black collaborators, and plans to create a corridor through which an evacuation of white people could be mounted.
Now our demands, Mr. Chairman, this committee should be sensitive to the new imperialist intrigues in the months ahead. The rigged elections should be denounced in advance because they have been rigged in advance. The United States Congress interference should be condemned. Sanctions should be intensified, and all members of the illegal regime, black and white, should be barred from entering any member state of the United Nations. As for the Patriotic Front, Mr. Chairman, we want to give your committee a pledge. We promise this committee that we will now go flat out to smash the Salisbury regime by escalating our armed struggle.
Sakunda Holdings. Now you can go.
What some of us are fighting for is to see that this oppressive system is crushed. We don't care whether, I don't even care whether I would be part of the top echelon in the room. I'm not worried, but I'm dying to see a change that, in the system. That's all. That's all. I would like to see the young people enjoying together, black, white, enjoying together. In a new Zimbabwe, that's all.
I salute you. Everyone who died as a slave, I salute you. Anyone who cried from their pain, I salute you. Anyone who fought to be free, I salute you. Everyone who taught me to dream, I salute you. Anyone who sacrificed themselves, I salute you. This has been happening.
As we celebrate Heroes Day and Defense Forces Day, let us take time to appreciate the sacrifices made for our freedom. Freedom to chart our own economic course.
I salute you. Everyone who died as a slave, I salute you. Anyone who cried from their pain, I salute you. Anyone who fought to be free, I salute you. Everyone who taught me to dream, I salute you. Anyone who sacrificed themselves, I salute you. This has been happening.
Tinotora sei nyika inoshoko rimwe ravakatiudza tora gidi uzvitonge mbuya neana kubva vachitaura shuwa kuti tinotora sei nyika inoshoko rimwe ravakatiudza tora gidi uzvitonge.
What we want is majority rule and independence for Zimbabwe. And it must be majority rule and independence. And the power must be to the people. What we want is majority rule and independence for Zimbabwe. And it must be majority rule and independence. And the power must be to the people.
Sakunda Holdings. Now you can go.
Hello and welcome to the National Heroes Acre, where celebrations for the Heroes Day commemorations are happening. I'm not alone today. I'm joined by my comrade in arms, Marion Chaba. Marion.
Thank you so much, Blessing. Good morning, Zimbabwe. This is the Zim Papers TV network, and we are coming to you live from the Heroes Acre. Of course, this is the 39th independence celebration as Zimbabwe, and President Emerson Mnangagwa will be officiating for the second time right here in the Second Republic.
Now, Zimbabweans from across the political divide have come here to give their respects for the living and departed heroes and heroines that sacrificed their lives for the independence of this nation. Now, we know, of course, in the other 9 provinces, Manicaland, Mashonaland West, Mashonaland Central, Masvingo, Midlands, Matabeleland North, Matabeleland South, the other 9 provinces, we do have similar celebrations being held and being presided over by the respective ministers of state.
And this is an important occasion because it keeps us united as a nation, and it enlightens the young Zimbabweans to cherish our heritage.
Now, obviously, this is very critical in light of this year's theme, lest we forget, given the fact that Zimbabwe almost turns 40. It's been 40 years since Zimbabwe has been independent. Now, the president is already making his way into the arena right now and reminding us where we are coming from as a nation, most importantly, where we're going.
And these Heroes Day celebrations are not only peculiar to Zimbabwe, they are a major highlight of many African states. For example, we have Namibia, where their Heroes Day celebrations are held on the 26th of August. In Mozambique is the 3rd of February, and in Angola is the 17th of September.
Also, we do have the same celebrations being held beyond the African continent, in Jamaica, also in Cuba, Timor, in the Asian nations of China, as well as Thailand. Now, it is an electric atmosphere here, Marion, as you can hear the cheers of the crowd as the President Emerson Mnangagwa is making his way to the podium. We will be expecting him to be addressing people, but we are joined right now by the Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, Minister Monica Mchangwa, to give us her perspective as a woman who was on the ground and telling us how it was, what motivated her as a child of the soil. Minister Mchangwa, thank you so much for joining us.
It is my pleasure to be here talking to the audience. I want to say hello and happy Heroes Day.
Thank you so much. Now, what motivated you to get into the struggle?
1975. 25 June, Frelimo got its independence, and that actually gave us that strength to say, if Mozambicans can do it to get their independence from the Portuguese settlers, we can do it. It was, we call ourselves the Samora Machel generation. It was a spirit which came through the young people of this country. I was a young student at Mtambara High School in Chimanimani area. And being next to the border, we were celebrating together with the Mozambicans because, as you know, we are just right at the border. It was good. It was a good feeling. But it pushed us from inside to say, certainly, there's something we can do. And let me say, from the school where I went to, politics used to be preached in church, Methodist church. Muzorewa used to preach politics in that church, and he always used to say, what are you afraid of, you young black people of this country, to fight for what is rightfully yours? It was actually a pity that when I left finally to go to the struggle, at Chimoyo in 1977, when Muzorewa had joined Ian Smith, he actually sent soldiers to bomb the kids who he had actually inspired. It was really a pity. But we always feel that actually gave us strength. The prayers, the spiritual teachings, all that gave us strength. I left the struggle as a young girl, just doing my Form 3. And this was, I never thought about the consequences at that particular time. It was about fighting for struggle, fighting for each and every Zimbabwean to have an opportunity. We knew as little girls at secondary school, we had managed to get to secondary school thanks to our parents who were struggling then. We knew that we had very little opportunities. If you can be a teacher or maybe a nurse, that's all about it. So we felt it was important. We had heard good stories from other African countries which had gained their independence. And we wanted also to be lawyers, we wanted to be business people, we wanted to be engineers, we wanted to be pilots, we wanted to be everything in this country. And when we left, it was just with my 4 friends. We didn't have to talk a lot because we knew that if the information leaks, then we were going to be in trouble. So at lunch hour, we decided we left. We went through all the mountains where we got the energy to climb up the mountains and to walk for hours on end. You know, our feet actually got swollen because there was a lot of walking. And we also had to be careful because there was a lot of Rhodesian soldiers, especially around the borders. So we had to be very careful to watch out for where the soldiers are so that we can actually divert. We were walking towards the east because we knew that's where the border is. And we were waiting to just get to a place where we will find Frelimo soldiers, because once the Frelimo soldiers would have seen us, we knew we're in good hands, they would take us to our camps, and that's what happened. The story is long, but let me say, in the struggle was a difficult time. This was a very difficult time. It was on this particular day, Heroes Day, when we were at Nyadzonya, all waiting to celebrate the Heroes Day, that the Smith actually sent their soldiers, and they attacked us. And I don't know how we survived because we were merely refugees at that camp. We had not been trained. This was just a gathering place before you are taken to a training camp at Nyadzonya. But God is good. I'm here. I am grateful. I am alive. I mean, it wasn't a lot of others who could have been better than me today. They perished at Nyadzonya. It was difficult. I remember running, using my hands to stop the sound of the gun. It was the first time in my life to feel that sound of guns. It was the first time when I saw people running in front of me, some without their heads on because they've been shot. That's the first time I knew that after being shot, even when your head is almost off, a person can continue running for a few seconds. I saw a lot of blood flowing, and how I survived, we all leave it to God and to the spirits of this country. It was a difficult time. Came to training. I went to Nyadzonya, I went to Doroi. I can't talk about the whole history, how people perished even as we were running away from the enemy. Some perished in the rivers. The Pungwe River, we lost quite a number of our own young people who perished there because the river was full and was flowing, and a lot of us didn't know how to swim. But finally, there we are. The struggle never in the war. It was not like you're a boy, then you eat in a different kitchen, or you're a girl, you eat in another kitchen. When we didn't have food, all of us suffered. When we went a week without food, all of us suffered. And when we went for training, the training was actually planned in such a way that it was very tough because we were fighting a strong army, the Rhodesian army. So it was not like there was a special training for girls, simply because if you are not well trained, you perish. The gun will not look at you as a girl and spare you. So the training was tough, equally for men and women. And I must say, as my colleagues in the struggle, we fought side by side. And that tells you a story. In this particular country, Biananda fought the struggle. She was not only in the kitchen, but she was a war strategist. We've read a lot of stories, and we now know that she was actually at the table to plan about how to fight the settler who had come to our country. So we are saying the women of this country fought side by side with their male colleagues. When they ask for empowerment, when they ask for parity, they are not asking for charity. These are things which they fought for. Women in this country were double oppressed. They were oppressed in their families, in their communities, and when colonialism came, they were also oppressed. So when we talk about affirmative action for our women, we are only saying they are coming from far. We need to give them opportunities to compete, on an equal footing with their male colleagues. As I said in the war, we suffered the same. When there was no food, we have no food. When there was no clothes, we had both no clothes. When we trained, we had no proper uniforms for training. We all trained in those, unfit clothing for a soldier. Both of us suffered. I remember training without even clothes. As I speak, even so many years after, if you look at my elbows, you can actually see that there's still some black marks because the training was tough, and you can actually have blisters. You will not stop. You will continue. There was no luxury to say, this one is a weakling, let's put her aside. Because unless you are really sick, otherwise every soldier had to be trained to be strong, had to be trained to be courageous, to face a very strong enemy. That's why ours was a guerrilla warfare, because we knew the Rhodesian army was much stronger than us. And there was no way, if we had not done a guerrilla training, that the guerrilla training which we had to do was critical, because we knew the enemy was stronger. They had planes, they had all the helicopters. We didn't have all that. They had superior ammunition. We didn't have that. But through the support which we had from our people in this country, that's why I say it's each and everyone in this country who fought for the struggle. As guerrillas, as comrades, we managed to convert the head boys and the head girls in the villages, our mothers, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, to convert everybody to be a soldier. Because even for the Mujibas and Chimbwidos, they had to be strong. They had to give up everything they had. They had to say, if I lose my life, it's okay. I'm losing it for each and everyone in this country. The war of this country was fought by each and everyone. And we are saying, until and only until every Zimbabwean gets an opportunity, the opportunities which we fought for. We didn't fight for positions. We fought for opportunities for each and every Zimbabwean. And we're saying up to today, as long as we have not had industrialized this country, as long as not every child who is coming out of university is getting a job, we still have a long way to go. We still have to work hard to get there. And it makes me, this day makes me, it's bittersweet.
Bittersweet memories.
I think about that attack at Nyazonya. I think about that suffering when we had to go as women without sanitary pads. Sanitary pads was a luxury, and underwear was a luxury. I remember getting socks, these socks in the bells, which used to come from Nordic countries, who actually felt sorry for us and collected a lot of old clothes to send to our camps. You just get that, and that was good enough to be append. And think about it, you had nowhere to find, not even, I'm not talking of the sanitary pad, which we know today, but I'm talking about just the nice clothing which is soft to use as a woman. That was a luxury. And then there was a time, because of the diet which was absolutely absent, girls actually started missing their periods. Personally, I never wore a bra until I got my child. That's the only time when I could get a bra. I had to get a bra. Otherwise, a bra, even a brazier. And I'm talking about 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls. That was a luxury. It was nowhere to be found. The food had no salt in the diet. There was, we talk about, we had so many diseases, some of them guerrilla warfare diseases, which we knew the enemy actually had to spread. These are diseases which we have never seen, and up to now, I've never heard about them anywhere else in the country. But during the struggle, we were confronted with those kind of diseases. It was tough. The women suffered a lot. Think about it, biologically we are built differently, and to go without even stopping your periods and not knowing what is happening to you, whether you ever, even after the struggle, whether you'll be able to bear children, because we all know we had studied biology at school. We knew that you had to continue menstruating so that you could be able to, when you get married, finally you can have children. But when that stopped, women suffered mentally, physically, and says, will I ever be able to also, after independence, will I ever be able to have my family and have my children? But God is good. We have had our children after that.
Thank you so much.
It was a tough war.
I feel your passion.
It was a tough war.
It's obviously a bitter, sweet moment. Like you say, this day is obviously very important to you. But thank you so much for that in-depth description of your experience during the struggle.
And after the struggle, we are still talking about women empowerment. And as I said, when we ask for women empowerment, when we ask for gender parity, we are grateful to this government of Zimbabwe. Since 1980, since independence, a lot of laws have been put into place to make sure that we empower our women, to make sure that we bring our women up there. And I'm glad that a lot of effort has been put, but there's still more to be done. We are happy we have a constitution which has got a lot of provisions enshrined in it for empowerment of women, for gender parity. We have got Section 17, Section 80, Section 56 in our Constitution. It's now about making sure that there's enforcement of all those provisions enshrined. We need 50-50. It's enshrined in our Constitution, in our boards, in our institutions. Let's make sure that we bring up, after all, women are 52% in this population. No leader can leave behind 52% of its population. And women are good managers. Given an opportunity, women will make sure that they bring up their families, they bring up their communities, and they bring up their nation to a greater height. And Zimbabwe has no reason not to get to that greater height. The pedestal is there, and the support from the struggle, the support from the people of this country, who will always love peace because they saw a war. Zimbabweans, youth of this country, young people should always remember to guard jealously this independence. It didn't come easy. It didn't come easy. A lot of bloodshed was shed. So let's hold dearly. Let's never allow detractors who want this country to go back to where it was. Let's never work with them. Let's remain united. Let's be harmonious. Let's remove polarization among ourselves. Zimbabwe is for us all. One people, one nation.
Thank you so much, Minister Mchongo. Very key highlights there, Marion, from the Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, telling us about her personal experiences on the ground, and most importantly also acknowledging that the current government has also made the necessary provisions to make sure that women are empowered. The Constitution has that provision for 50-50% representation. Also empowerment programs in mining, in agriculture, to try and upgrade the women. Minister Mchongo did highlight that they're not a charity case. Yes. Just like they did partake in the War of Liberation.
Side by side with their male counterparts.
Exactly. They're just asking for their equal share. And it's a call to action for women out there to take the opportunities that are being presented in the Second Republic. Our broadcast continues. We did hear the national anthem as well as the gun salutes being conducted right here. Shortly, we will also be hearing the President, His Excellency President Emmerson Mnangagwa, addressing the nation from here, the National Heroes Acre.
We take a break. Just stay with us.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, the First Lady. Scripture reading from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 4, verse 18, 32 and 33. And I read from verse 4, starting from part C. Abel still speaks even though he is dead. And verse 18, all these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. Verse 32 and 33. What more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson and Jephthah, about David, Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and conquered foreign armies. In the chapter we have just read, we have encountered biblical heroes who did outstanding works in their day, that the Bible devotes a whole passage to mention them one by one. We are also gathered here to appreciate, to honor, and to thank God for the many brave sons and daughters of Zimbabwe who selflessly sacrificed their lives for the independence and betterment of the Republic of Zimbabwe. Though they are dead, yet their selfless sacrifice still speak even today. We are grateful to God for these gallant sons and daughters. Today, we enjoy peace, tranquil, freedom of worship. We will always cherish the heroes of our great nation and their countless sacrifice. Let me invite you to bow our heads and pray. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, oh Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great day. We thank you for the great nation of Zimbabwe. We thank you for the great heroes. We declare in the name of Jesus a blessing upon the nation of Zimbabwe. We speak the favor of God upon this great nation. May the gracious hand of God be upon our nation. We speak the favor of God. Let the blessing of the Lord that maketh rich and add no sorrow rest upon Zimbabwe. I prophesy Zimbabwe will count where it counts. I prophesy Zimbabwe will matter where it matters. When great names are mentioned, the name of Zimbabwe shall not be omitted. Let Zimbabwe arise and shine in the name of Jesus. Pakama Zimbabwe, Penya Zimbabwe, Simuka Zimbabwe, Nyika ya madzibaba edu. Oh God, do for Zimbabwe what men consider impossible. We declare beauty for ashes, oil of gladness, the zeal of the Lord, the spirit of the Lord. Let grace and mercy prevail in the nation of Zimbabwe. We speak life to our economy. We speak life to our industries. We speak life to our soil. Lord, perfect all that contains Zimbabwe in the mighty name of Jesus. Zimbabwe, you are the head and not the tail. You will prevail and not fail. You are above and not beneath. You are blessed and not cursed. May the good plan of God for Zimbabwe prevail. Lord, bless His Excellent, the President of Zimbabwe. Lord, bless the nation of Zimbabwe and its people in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. I thank you.
Upenyu wedure mumaoko iyo henyu Jehova samasi Zimbabwe upenyu weduriwo mumaoko baba yenyu Jehova samasi ukura kuchembera upenyu wako uriwo mumaoko baba Jehova samasimba wamudangatira tize mambo tize simba renyu wamudangatira tize mambo tize simba renyu ona tidanane tisimbisane tidanane tisimbisane. Upenyu weduriwo baba yenyu Jehova Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Vatikani. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Ufeti. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Wana wa Zimbabwe pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Pinda Muzambara tiende. Kuna baba. Iwo Masambara.
The President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Head of State and Government, and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, and the First Lady, Amai Auxilia Mnangagwa, Honorable Vice President, Retired General Dr. Constantino Gouveia Dominic Nyikadzino Chiwenga and Amai Chiwenga, Honorable Vice President Campbell Dukish Mohadi and Amai Mohadi, National Chairman of the ruling party ZANU-PF, Comrade Opa Mchinguri Kashiri, President of the Senate, Honorable Mabel Memory Chinomona, Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Advocate Jacob Mudenda, Chief Justice, Honorable Luke Malava, and other judges here present, Cabinet Ministers and members of the Politburo, Minister of State for Harare Metropolitan Province, Honorable Oliver Chidau, Service Chiefs, War Veterans, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here to commemorate, honor and celebrate the lives and deeds of the gallant sons and daughters of Zimbabwe who lie here at this national shrine, at various provincial shrines, and in our neighboring countries, namely Mozambique, Zambia, Botswana, and Tanzania, as well as in unmarked graves all over the country. It is therefore my singular honor to call upon you, Your Excellency, to address the nation on this glorious and auspicious occasion. Your Excellency, sir.
Pray, be seated. The Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, Comrade C.N. Matema. The First Lady, Amai Exilia Mnangagwa. The Vice President, General Retired CGDN Chiwenga and Amai Chiwenga in absentia. The Vice President, Comrade Retired KCD, Retired Colonel KCD Mohadi and Amai Mohadi. The Minister of State for Harare Metropolitan Province, Engineer Oliver Chidao. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Advocate J.F. Mudenda. President of the Senate, Amai Chinomona. The Chief Justice of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable L. Malala, and other judges of the High Court of Zimbabwe. Members of the Politburo and Central Committee of the ruling party, other leaders of political parties who may be here, Honorable Ministers, Members of Parliament, Service Chiefs, His Worship the Mayor of Harare, Councillor Gomba, families of heroes and heroines of the Zimbabwe liberation struggle, war veterans, war collaborators, ex-detainees and restrictees, madzimambo edu vari pano, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, may I also recognize our visitors from the Kingdom of Lesotho, Major General Matobakele Matela, Deputy Chief of Defense Staff, Lesotho Defense Forces, and delegation. From South Africa, National Defense Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Njoko, head of South African Engineers Corps in Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Zimbabweans, comrades and friends, I am honored to join the nation today as we commemorate our National Heroes Day. This is indeed a solemn day when we remember and celebrate the illustrious sons and daughters of Zimbabwe who paid the supreme sacrifice for the liberation of our motherland. We salute, honor, and pay high tribute to them for their resolute defiance against colonial oppression. Their bravery, courage, and valor must serve as an inspiration and encouragement to us all as we journey towards a better and brighter Zimbabwe. Let us honor their sacred sacrifice and the rich heritage of gallantry they left for us by pledging to put our country first before self-interest or self-ambition. Let us vow to keep our land from foes, strengthened by the struggles and achievements of the past, conscious of what must be accomplished now and in the future. I urge us, therefore, wherever we may be, to build on this great legacy. Present and future generations must be brave and proud protectors of that heritage, lest we forget. We remember them individually and collectively for fighting gallantly. As we do so, we are aware that they received immense support from the international community for us to attain our independence. We honor their sacrifice and express our eternal gratitude. We also recognize and honor all those ordinary, everyday heroes and heroines, the villagers, men and women, boys and girls, who contributed in their own ways towards the liberation war effort. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, the experience of war makes people value peace all the more. As such, the defense of the peace and stability we enjoy today is paramount and must be undertaken with valor and vigilance. These heroes and heroines at this shrine and others at marked and unmarked graves both in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia, Botswana and Angola gave their lives to uphold this peace, this unity, freedom, justice and independence. Let us honor them by dedicating ourselves to peace. Violence, discord, disunity, hatred, divisions, discrimination, tribalism, regionalism, and corruption must be rejected as having no place in the new Zimbabwe. Mutual respect, love, equality, peace, commitment, loyalty, cooperation, and harmony must now be the order of the day. These values are engraved in our nationhood and indeed are an indispensable trait in our DNA. For this reason, violence must continue to be shunned and rejected. Indeed, dialogue, and constructive engagement must be promoted as the centerpiece of national development. Under the Second Republic, let us all be determined to rekindle and permanently entrench that important national character and identity. The baton is now with us. We must not be found wanting in the present battle for economic progress and prosperity. We must run the good race and fight the good fight. Long live our heroes and heroines, and long live our Zimbabwe. Comrades and friends, the national economic prosperity and progress we seek requires dedicated effort, hard work, and unflinching loyalty and patriotism, one generation after another. Allow me, on that note, to express my profound gratitude to all Zimbabweans for their patience and resilience, often against incredible odds during this period of reform processes. These economic reforms are necessary to right-size the economy and reset it for sustainable economic development for our motherland. Going forward, my government is now concentrating on increasing production efficiencies across all the sectors of the economy, starting with agriculture, which is the mainstay of our economy. This will be followed by the mining sector, which is the main foreign exchange earner for our country. It is against this background that, despite the natural calamities caused by the current drought, government has put in place sustainable measures to ensure a more reliable supply of electricity to support the requirements of our economy. As we commence the preparations for the forthcoming agriculture season, the uninterrupted availability of electricity should enable growers to increase their purchase of seed to produce more tobacco for the next season. While wheat farmers were severely affected recently by the shortages of electricity, the improved supplies should ensure that the remaining hectarage is well irrigated to enhance yields. Preparations for the raise of agricultural products should also begin in earnest. We must all work hard to increase agricultural productivity across all crops so that we guarantee national food self-sufficiency, nutrition, and increase export earnings from this sector. I wish to once again assure all our citizens that no one will die of hunger. Grain distribution points have been established in all remote areas of the country so that vulnerable communities can access grain as near to them as is possible. This ongoing drought and its impact serve as a potent reminder of the fact that climate change is a distinct reality. Going forward, my government will implement comprehensive strategies to mitigate our country's exposure to the vagaries of the ever-changing weather patterns. I commend members of the international community and partners partners, we have made generous pledges towards our food relief efforts. Similarly, the mining, manufacturing, and commerce in the industry sectors of the economy should now drive production to the fullest. I'm pleased to highlight the commendable progress that the banking sector has achieved on the interbank foreign exchange market. To date, the interbank trade on average around US $5 million per day. We expect this to continue to increase on account of further liberalization put in place by the Reserve Bank on the operations of bureau de change outlets. However, we are aware that our people, especially those in rural areas, are facing difficulties in transacting owing to cash shortages. This transient challenge will be addressed more decisively in the very near future. I wish to once again urge all citizens to deal honestly and honorably in the conduct of all our affairs. Sustainable economic prosperity will only be achieved through hard, honest work. To this end, there is no shortcut. The re-engagement program and our investment promotion drive are yielding notable results. The investment drive will receive further impetus upon the full operationalization of the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, ZIDA. Fellow Zimbabweans, the national heroes and heroines we celebrate and remember today fought for the land, that which is on it and all that which is under it. The land reform is there forever. It will never change. In the mining sector, we continue to receive investment by way of expansion of existing projects, exploration, the opening up of new mines, as well as mineral beneficiation in that sector. The tourism sector is experiencing steady growth. The expansion of our tourism products, protection and preservation of wildlife, flora and fauna will remain a priority. The growth of a sustainable wildlife economy and elimination of human-wildlife conflict are areas that my administration is diligently pursuing. We shall continue to implement robust and responsive infrastructure development programs with regards to transport, energy, water and sanitation infrastructure, as well as housing construction. Road construction projects across the country are steadily progressing. The recently opened Walls Bay dry port offers Zimbabwe plenty opportunities, enhanced options and access to direct shipping routes on the Atlantic Ocean. Our access to Europe, the Americas, is now easier. This development must be leveraged to accelerate the modernization, mechanization, and retooling of our agriculture and manufacturing sectors. Quality, affordable, and accessible public services are integral indicators in our quest to achieve Vision 2030. the ongoing modernization reforms in the health sector will see quality and affordable health delivery services to all our people throughout the country. To date, we have re-equipped central hospitals. Furthermore, my government will increase the training and recruitment of health personnel so that all our hospitals and clinics are adequately manned by skilled personnel. Allow me to pay special tribute to various partners and friends of Zimbabwe, such as the United Arab Emirates, India, who are assisting us in overhauling our health delivery system. My government shall continue to put in place the requisite safety nets to protect the vulnerable members of our society. To this end, affordable transport services such as the Zupco buses will continue to be rolled out for both urban and rural areas for the convenience and the more affordable movement of our people. Comrades and friends, the ongoing devolution program is being accelerated. I call upon our people from the ward level right up to the provinces to take full advantage of this new policy thrust and promote locally driven development to empower and improve the quality of life of our people at the grassroots level. In this implementation of devolution, let us always remember that Zimbabwe is a unitary state, full stop. We are one people, one nation, from Zambezi to Limpopo, from Plumtree to Mtare, from Badbridge to Chirundu. We are one. This is what our heroes and heroines fought for. Let us protect and preserve our unity, our peace, and the indivisibility of our great Zimbabwe. Let me take this opportunity to thank our workers as a whole for their patience and understanding of the challenges facing our economy. Access to higher and tertiary learning institutions shall be enhanced. Greater focus is now on the development of skills and competencies which encourage innovation and the modernization and industrialization of every sector of our economy. The education system must speak and respond to the everyday needs of our people, as well as improve our country's competitiveness in the global value chains. My government remains committed to ensure that the women, the youths, and people living with disabilities are adequately catered for. We shall scale up the availability of skills training centers, such as vocational training centers. The centrality of information communication technologies requires constant upgrading of infrastructure and the expansion of connectivity. The setting up of additional base stations targeting mostly rural areas is ongoing. Our Constitution recognizes the need for us to accord due respect to the veterans of our liberation struggle. And This is guaranteed by my government. The preservation and protection of our national liberation war heritage will also incorporate the proper maintenance of all liberation memorial sites in Zimbabwe and outside Zimbabwe. Comrades, under the Second Republic, my administration recognizes that weak institutions and restricted access to justice will deprive opportunities to our people and undermine delivery of public services and the broader economic development. We shall continue to protect our independence, our freedom, our justice system, and democracy, which our departed heroes and heroines fought for, by accelerating efforts to consolidate constitutionalism, the rule of law, as well as strengthening institutions that support democracy. We will, with greater resolve, protect constitutionally enshrined rights, fully cognizant, however, of the fact that the enjoyment of such rights is not absolute. Our efforts to turn around the economy will remain underpinned by a spirited campaign to eradicate the pervasive vice of corruption. As I have repeatedly stated, this campaign will be waged relentlessly and without fear or favor. It is commendable that the newly reconstituted Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission has embarked on its assignment with promising clarity and focus. Fellow Zimbabweans, I wish to conclude by appealing to you all, including those in the diaspora, to draw inspiration from the heroes and the heroines by building bridges of unity, peace and freedom, patriotism and economic prosperity. God Almighty gave us only one Zimbabwe, and it is our duty and responsibility to build and prosper our country through both our words and deeds. Lest we forget, the Zimbabwe our heroes fought for and the one we want to see is without doubt one that is peaceful, united, prosperous, coexisting in harmony with its neighbors and all of the peace-loving people of the world. As I alluded above, the austerity measures we have undertaken are certainly necessary to guarantee sustainable development and prosperity for our country. To desire quick fix maneuvers, neglecting fundamentals, will be grossly dishonest and a betrayal to the future prospects of our children. I thus wish to thank all our people for their resilience and to further urge them to bear with us as we complete the crucial phase of our policy reforms. Together and with unity of purpose, we shall succeed. May I inform you that this morning I was telephoned by the Honorable Vice President Chiwenga in China, conveying his good wishes on this Heroes' Day to you. I wish to also applaud my brothers and sisters, fellow leaders of political parties, and the broad array of stakeholders who have embraced the call for dialogue and conversations towards the rebuilding of our great Zimbabwe. Those who are remembering today played their part. Those we are remembering today played their part in liberating us from colonial bondage. Let us unite and usher our people to a better and a prosperous future. Together in unity, we will make Zimbabwe great. God bless you all. God bless Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Ogambu buyu buyenjalo. Ogambu buyu buyenjalo. Yekhaya useka. Ogambu buyu buyenjalo. Ogambu buyu buyenjalo. Yekhaya useka. Buyu buyekhaya. Ogambu buyu buyenjalo. Yekhaya useka. Ogambu buyu buyenjalo. Ogambu buyu buyenjalo.
This is a live broadcast from the National Heroes Acre right here in Zimbabwe, where the 39th celebrations of the National Heroes Day are happening. Marion, we just saw His Excellency President Mnangagwa highlighting the importance of the sacrifice that was made by the sons and daughters of Zimbabwe for independence.
He spoke about it being a celebration of the illustrious sons and daughters of Zimbabwe who sacrificed their lives for the independence, for the celebrations that we are holding today. Some other highlights are, he also spoke about their bravery that should serve as an encouragement to us as Zimbabweans to put our nation first.
That is very important, and just like Minister Mchangwa had highlighted that also the ordinary villager had a role to play in the liberation of Zimbabwe, and the President also acknowledging the role of the ordinary Zimbabwean, the ordinary villager, in making sure that independence is delivered for Zimbabwe. But the President also did highlight that the experience of war makes people appreciate the importance of peace, and it then becomes important for the people of Zimbabwe to guard that peace jealously.
He encouraged us as Zimbabweans to also shun violence, Blessing, because he was saying peace is at the center stage of our national development as Zimbabweans. He also applauded Zimbabweans for their resilience during these tough economic times, Blessing.
Definitely, the austerity measures that government is implementing, just like you said, Marion, the President did highlight that there's no place in the Second Republic for corruption, for tribalism, for discrimination, for discord, and also violence. He did say that mutual respect, love, peace, and loyalty must be the common order of the day in Zimbabwe.
Also on the President's speech, he highlighted on the liberalization of the banking sector, where he said he's going to see an improvement in foreign currency inflows into the country. Of course, we saw the launch of the Bureau de Change, we saw the exchange rate, yes, exactly, being constantly aligned with the US dollar, removing those inconsistencies in terms of trading on the stock market.
As we give you the highlights from the President's main speech, the next segment, we will be seeing a special occasion today, because we do have people that are being awarded in light of the Cyclone Idai relief efforts that were made by Zimbabweans, a time that really unified the people as a nation, Marion.
And you know, Cyclone Idai it united all of us, from those in government, from the ordinary person, from the churchgoer. It was a united front. We saw many donations coming from all over the place to help those people who were affected by Cyclone Idai in Chimanimani.
It really calls that action that we are Zimbabweans first before anything else, and what can unite us is more than what can ever divide us as a nation. So the people that did assist people, the generality of victims that were affected by Cyclone Idai, are going to be receiving medals. That's the award ceremony that's coming up shortly. We will also be talking to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable S.B. Moyo, in a moment. Other key highlights, of course, the president did say that the forthcoming agricultural season, he did challenge the farmers to increase their output in light of the country's Vision 2030 and also wanting to improve the output in terms of exports.
And also in terms of the Vision 2030, he touched on the health sector where he says they are working as the Second Republic to ensure that we have quality and affordable health services for the generality of Zimbabweans.
The government did highlight that no one will die of hunger. Remember the president in the last 2 weeks declaring a state of emergency, and the global community coming forth to assist in terms of the food situation, but also Zimbabwe being a signatory of the Paris Agreement. The president did touch on the issue of climate change and government's efforts in mitigating the effects of climate change.
And also looking at the current challenges being experienced in the economy, the president touched on the issue of Zupco buses that have come as a relief to many Zimbabweans.
Now, Zimbabwe remains a unitary state. These are the words of the president as he was about to conclude his speech. Honorable S.B. Moyo, thank you. How are you, sir?
Good.
Fine, thanks. I am joined, of course, by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable S.B. Moyo, to just give us more in terms of the tactics that were used during the war. Honorable S.B., you were one of the commanders that were on the ground. Can you tell us more about the tactics that were employed?
Well, thank you very much. Well, when you talk about the tactics evolves. It derives from the strategy.
Or they remain a secret?
Well, all I can tell you in summary is that the liberation struggle was fought based on the principle of the fish and water. In other words, with total support of the people. The masses. So when the masses were united, they were clear on the cause of the war. They were clear on the fundamentals and the objectives of where we're supposed to go. So the self-determination of this country basically was understood by the masses. And that was the role of the commissariat, to ensure that it popularizes the doctrine so that the rest of the issues, which were military aspects, would then be conducted with ease. Remember, we were facing a regular force which was well equipped, which had all the various assets like land forces, air forces and everything, and we had nothing except that rifle which is there, which is an AK rifle. But the survivability of that had to be based on the best tactic of the day.
How difficult was it to integrate the masses into being a part of the struggle?
It was not necessarily very difficult, because the masses, right from the onset, we had come from the masses, and therefore we came back to fight within the masses. And when we then were explaining the cause and the essence and the doctrine, then that became an easy process of doing that. So that's why when we talk about heroes here, they range from people who were actually holding guns to the people who actually supported the revolution.
The
Mjibbas and everybody else. That's why when you talk about the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Defense and war veterans and others and so forth, so that all these groups had a role to play.
It is interesting that you highlight that, Minister Moyo, because traditionally we had that misconception that maybe a hero is someone who has fought the war of liberation. But if I can give the example, this year in January, we saw Dr. Oliver Mtukudzi, a musician, being declared a national hero.
Absolutely.
Has the definition changed? What is a national hero?
It has not changed. A national hero, in my view, is somebody who has persecuted a war of independence, of self-determination, and economic development of Zimbabwe. So, one is the war of self-determination, and then secondly, it is the second part, which is to do with the development. So people like even the musicians played a role, remember? There was quite a lot of singing, there was quite a lot of lyrics and other things which mobilized and provided the psychology which was critical for us to prosecute the war.
In his address right now, the President, Emmerson Mnangagwa, did highlight that the re-engagement effort, which is one of the main pillars that he was hammering on since he came on, is this drive has received greater impetus. Can you tell us more about this?
Absolutely. In fact, as His Excellency has clearly and categorically stated in many forums, including this one, since his inauguration, he said we must end the isolation which had characterized Zimbabwe for the past 2 decades. And that isolation had to be ended through the re-engagement with those people who had negative attitude towards Zimbabwe. And of course, reaffirming our friendship and the economic cooperation with all those who have always supported us. But the critical issue is that when we re-engage, we have re-engaged with Europe, we have re-engaged with Britain, we have re-engaged with the Americans. These were the countries which had viewed Zimbabwe in a specific, different and negative manner. So what the President is actually saying is that there has been some amelioration of basically results or relations between Europe and Zimbabwe, or between UK and Zimbabwe. That's why I've been in the UK about twice or whatever the case. And the kind of discussions which are already undertaking between ourselves and even with America symbolizes the fact that we are now, the relations are now thawing, and therefore we are seeing progress in that particular direction. Remember, our main difference was initially with the UK. But as a result of that, that's why our focus was also to do with UK. And we had to make sure that we rationalize those relations, and then after that, then we can go to the rest of the Europe and the Americas and so forth. So that has been, it's progressing very well indeed.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa's administration has developed a knack of challenging the status quo in light of being inclusive. Do you see the current administration taking into account the concerns raised mainly by the opposition, that maybe the ruling party has the sole decision-making when it comes to determination of the national hero status?
You must understand where the hero's status comes from. And secondly, the opposition party, which is there today, was not there yesterday. But the hero's acre has always been there since independence. So sometimes you must not relate opposition parties to. It must be, it's a governed process. But that governed process is driven by a ruling party, which declares a hero. A hero in the nature of visualizing the contribution of that particular person in as far as the fight for the self-determination is concerned, or the fight for economic emancipation of this country is concerned. So it's not from that perception that we'll then go for a referendum to ask for who must be a hero. It has to be embedded within a decision maker who has been elected.
So, I think it's clear. And then maybe finally, as we close, Minister Moyo, looking at the living legends that sacrificed for this nation, are they getting enough recognition?
I think that has been expressed, I think, by not only by His Excellency the President, but also by the minister responsible for defense and war veterans particularly, that it is critical that we really look after the legends or those who fought for the liberation struggle. Because remember, there are many who are not advantaged, like myself probably. Most of these are not working, and therefore they need to be empowered. They left school at the ages of 13, 14, 15, 16. And that determination to leave school at that particular time and then fight for 5, 7 years right in the bush just for the cause of this country. I mean, surely this country has and can also find a way of saying thank you. But I'm aware that these are issues which are being discussed. We've heard about the issues which are being proposed, like the bank, War Veterans Bank, which will provide a sustainable way of providing support to these members. But other empowerment measures have been attempted, but they lack capital funding. But what we must, if we are really based on our constitution, it is also stated clearly in the constitution of Zimbabwe that the war veterans of Zimbabwe are a critical component, and we are going to be extinct very soon anyway, and probably you will have to look for us in a zoo.
There will be more of the younger generation.
And, you know, there is more of younger generation, but the younger generation now should learn now before we go. You know, it's very critical.
Honorable SB, thank you so much for your time. That was the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, retired Lieutenant General Sibusiso B. Moyo, giving us his insight as one of the commanders who was on the ground actually in the War of Liberation, telling us there also of the importance of the sacrifice that was made by the ordinary people, and the importance of also remembering the war veterans that sacrificed their lives for the betterment and the independence of Zimbabwe. We are at the National Heroes Acre where the 39th celebrations are happening. Marion, it's a very interesting moment right now. We're going through the awards as the President will be awarding medals to those that contributed towards the relief efforts of Cyclone Idai.
Yeah.
Sako Joshua Kurt. Chitopo Tendai. Chimupini Douglas. The youngest awardee at the age of 17, Murata Professor. Muchua Brighton. Masaiti Farai. Masaiti Peter. Retired Colonel Patrick Caneta. Tasiana Eliphas. Kid Shane in absentia. Doug van der Huit in absentia. Duncan Sebastian. Ruo Tafumao. Mataure Manja in absentia. Makusha Kudakwashe. Ziwangenyi David in absentia. Zambuko Cresta. Pastor Neva Femai of the United Baptist Church. Ziachecha Elvis. Pastor Lovemore Sitole of the Family of God Church. Mashura Ronald. Andre Zitzman of Bitumen World. Masiwa Strive of Higher Life Foundation, represented by Dr. Kennedy Mubaiwa. Billy Rottenberg in absentia. Chimuka Gertrude. Thank you, Your Excellency.
chimurenga chokwadi mwana wevu akanga azvipira nyika yedu yakauya nechimurenga chokwadi mwana wevu akanga azvipira kukudubura utongi hwekutsvinyirirwa kwakatanga mapfumbo kuchizouyawo magidi kukudubura utongi hwekutsvinyirirwa kwakatanga mapfumbo kuchizouyawo magidi unachorangarira makamba mabuyane akachapinuka sekuruka kuri unachorangarira makamba mabuyane akachapinuka sekuruka kuri mondara huru dzenyika ino dzakatitsigira kuti tikunde pachimurenga mondara huru dzenyika ino dzakatitsigira kuti tikunde pachimurenga wanachorangarira vavariri nyatwa iwe rekaitangwena tinomuremekeza wanachorangarira vavariri nyatwa iwe rekaitangwena tinomuremekeza wanachorangarira vachitepo vakasunungura nyika wanachorangarira vachitepo vakasunungura nyika wanachorangarira tongogara moyo namazungu vakasunungura nyika wanachorangarira tongogara moyo namazungu vakasunungura nyika wanachorangarira vakafira mumasango iwe kufira mumasango vachisunungura nyika wanachorangarira vakafira mumasango iwe kufira mumasango vachisunungura nyika wanachorangarira vana mujipa vaifamba nemashoko wanachorangarira vana mujipa vaifamba nemashoko wanachorangarira vana chimbido chipatapata kubika wanachorangarira vana chimbido chipatapata kubika
We're still at the National Heroes Acre right here in Harare, where 39th celebrations of the National Heroes Day are happening right here in Harare. I'm honored to be joined by the Minister of Local Government, Public Works and National Housing, Minister July Moyo. Honorable Minister, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today is a special day. An extraordinary event occurred today. We are having these awards for Cyclone Idai. Can you tell us more about the whole process?
Well, we Zimbabweans showed extreme sacrifice and extreme humanity in helping the victims of Cyclone Idai. But even in such circumstances, there are men and women who distinguish themselves, who are selfless, who almost will fight against death in order to help others. And we decided through the urging of the president that we should recognize this. So we took a mobilization and a searching approach, and we say to communities in Chimanimani, in Chipinge and other areas that were affected, we said, give us those men and women who distinguish themselves in saving lives, or some who actually lost their lives in saving others, in Gangu, in Machongwe, in Kopa, and other various areas. These included civilians in the main, and those who are serving soldiers will be recognized at another time as soldiers. But civilians we decided to say, this is the Heroes Day. This is the day we recognize the dead who are heroes, but we must start celebrating those who are still alive and they have shown heroism, heroiness.
So in total, how many award recipients were we talking about?
We gave about 37 all in all, but some people were not able to come and attend. But those who attended come from all walks of life, including the youngest one, who is 17 years, who helped others in the face of disaster.
Now, in light of the rebuilding efforts that government and civil society is making, what is the progress right now in terms of restoring the roads infrastructure, the electricity, the telecommunications in the affected areas?
What has happened, some of the companies that whose leaders were given awards, such as Billy Rattenberg, Sisman of Beachman World, or Beich Muka of Fossil and others, they were engaged. First, they decided just to contribute their own company's money, fuel, equipment to do these emergency bypasses. But now, government has engaged some of them to do permanent works, and we hope that this will be completed before the onset of the rains. So as I speak, you go back to Chimanimani, you will see now permanent bridges, and we are saying to ourselves, let's build back better. Some of the people who we have awarded, some like Strive Masiwa, is a Higher Life Foundation, represented by Dr. Who is here, who is working with us, are now building 500 homes, because we still have 1,654 families who are living in tents or living with others. So the permanent rebuilding of Chimanimani area and Chipinge area and the other affected, in Chifu, for instance, we have a family who is already vulnerable, whose house was destroyed. We have said, let's build back better that house for her. She is blind. She is giving birth to blind children. It's unheard of. And her house was destroyed. And we, working with the authorities, the Minister of State for Mashonaland East and the DAs and others, are rebuilding back better for those who were affected.
Obviously, from a disaster management perspective, there are lots of lessons to be drawn from this terrible disaster.
Yes.
But going forward, can we say that Zimbabwe will learn from this and actually have a bigger impact in terms of preparing for these disasters as a nation?
Well, there are two types of disasters, man-made and those caused by climate change, natural disasters. Those are more predictable. And if we have equipment, for instance, the Department of Meteorological Services is very key. And in our lessons learned, we have seen where we had deficiencies, and we want to plug those deficiencies. We have already conducted lessons learned. We went out to Chipinge, to Chimanimani, and we sat with the chiefs. The chiefs have something to say. We sat with the councillors, we sat with the civil servants, and we are coming up with how to do things better. So in the international community, there are lessons that also, they have said, Zimbabwe, you have 16 areas that we think you can alleviate the next coming disasters if you did A, B, C, D, and we are following up on that together with the UN. That's why you saw us proposing Parajuli representing the UN system. He is working with us, but there are many agencies from the UN system who are also working with us. UNICEF, for instance, World Food Program, UNDP itself, and many others are helping us to say, how can we build back better so that we are ready for natural disasters. For these man-made disasters, for instance in mines or in roads, which we attend, I'm also responsible for all disasters, including this drought. which is, you can say, is natural. But you have disasters where a bus driver is reckless. We cannot prepare. Of course, enforcement and learning, teaching our people how to drive safely during these holidays is key. But it comes to human error. And when we have analyzed the causes of human-caused disasters, human error is number one, or in some cases negligence.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your time. Honorable July Moyo, the Minister of Public Service, the Local Government Public Works and National Housing, giving us more information in terms of the awards that were being done today. We have dozens of people that helped in the relief efforts of Cyclone Idai, and certainly that call to action that Zimbabweans can unite in times of disaster. Surely they can also unite for the economic prosperity of this nation and move forward as a nation. Now, right now, proceedings are carrying on at the National Sports Stadium, the 39th celebrations of the Heroes Day commemorations. The President just laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and will also be going around meeting the respective families of departed heroes that have attended here today. 147 heroes buried here at the National Heroes Acre. We will continue to give you coverage, live coverage from ZTN. Do stay tuned. It's the 39th celebrations of the National Hero commemorations right here at the National Heroes Acre in Harare. Now you might be aware, today we had a special event occurring, awards being given to people that helped in the relief efforts as well as the rebuilding efforts that were being made in Manicaland, areas that were destroyed by Cyclone Idai in the first quarter of this year. Now, billions of dollars estimated by the United Nations that more than $3 billion needed to rebuild affected areas in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, as well as Malawi. I'm joined right now by the Member of Parliament for Chimanimani East, Honorable Joshua Sako. Goma Sako, mchirugona utaura shona ere? Makorogoto, ndrugona mapiwa this medal. Honorable Sako has received, is one of the recipients of the awards, and this medal, what does it mean to you? Don't you feel like a national hero today?
I'm very humbled by receiving this Jairus Jiri Humanitarian Award from His Excellency the President today here at National Heroes Acre. I'm very humbled by receiving it for contributing during and after the cyclone Idai in Chimanimani.
Now, let's talk about the cyclone itself. The amount of damage that was made by the natural phenomenon was catastrophic, beyond magnitudes that were ever experienced in Zimbabwe. How far are the rebuilding efforts so far?
There's been tremendous response to the calamity caused by Cyclone Idai. We've had, well, from just after the cyclone itself, which contributions by Zimbabweans across international organizations, international governments, the United Nations, but also specifically the government of Zimbabwe, represented by His Excellency the President. He came to Chimanimani on a number of occasions. And so I think the plight of the people affected by the cyclone has really been taken care of. We are now seeing a movement towards reconstruction of our roads, infrastructure, our bridges, in our schools. Most ablution facilities have been repaired, but it's a long-term process. It's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot of work to be done, but the goodwill out there is amazing. And the process has started where contractors have come onto the ground now to start working on the bridges, on the roads, specifically the road from Chipinge to connect Copper Growth Point, the road down Skyline, the bridge at Peacock. Work is underway as we speak. We have the South African Defence Forces also showing their goodwill. They came on board to bring in what we call Bailey bridges, temporary bridges, which they are erecting as we speak. And we are hoping that those bridges will be passable before the rainy season.
And then the President in his speech today did highlight the importance of peace, mutual respect, loyalty, inclusiveness. That period when the people were, exposed to the cyclone Idai, it really united people. What other lessons can be drawn from that disaster?
Well, even if you consider the recipients of these awards today, it knows no political boundary. It knows no racial boundary or tribal boundary. These awards were given by His Excellency the President to people who deserve them for their contributions during the cyclone. So taking a cue from that, even if you look at what the response from Zimbabweans was during or after the cyclone, we came together as a nation. Purpose to share the need for peace within our country. I think we learned lessons from the cyclone that as a country, as a people, we can actually come together and move this beautiful nation forward.
Obviously, this whole experience has been traumatic for most of your people in your constituency. Apart from the relief efforts, it becomes important for them to get that psychological also assistance. Is there anything happening in that sphere?
A lot has been done. But our challenge with the cyclone is we have many people still missing, who unfortunately we don't know where they are and we presume them dead. So for their families we need the process of closure. But what we have proposed to His Excellency and to the government is to create memorials in areas like Ngangu, Resitu Kopa, Machongwe, where most of our people, most of the damage was done. Create memorials, have plaques put up in memory of the victims of the cyclone. That will also assist within the closure. A lot of support has come through for psychological support, but because with some families, maybe they still hope to find their relatives, but the reality is, for those who are missing and haven't been found, we presume them dead. So it has been a very traumatic experience, where you just woke up and found that the house next to you has been washed away and your neighbors are no more. It has not been an easy process.
Zimbabwe is almost turning 40. We turn 40 next year, and since independence, do you think that the youth give the due diligence and importance of recognizing the effort that was made by the liberators?
I think as a youth, even in our curricula, in our schools, there's need to bring more of that historical issues into play. I believe the youth are the majority of our citizens, and unfortunately I think they are moving away from the ethos of the liberation struggle. More needs to be done, I believe, to educate them, to bring this awareness into our culture, that people sacrificed their lives so much for the liberation of this country. I've recently been in Rwanda, where that country sunk to the lowest possible level in the 1994 genocide. But you realize that as a people, somehow they've come together, somehow to have one vision,
unity of purpose,
to move forward. It's not a perfect scenario, but at least people are moving forward. I think in this country, we need to now focus as a nation, the youth included, on moving the country forward.
Honorable Sako, thank you so much for your time. Makorokoto, congratulations. I'm talking.
Your Excellency, we have now come to the end of our program at this sacred shrine. May we all rise for the national anthem. Your Excellency, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to you, Your Excellency, and all for attending this very important national occasion. May I request that we all remain in our respective places until His Excellency the President, the First Lady, and all the dignitaries have left the shrine.
We are at the National Heroes Acre, where the 39th celebrations of the National Heroes Day are happening. This is Zimbabwe's television network. Now the President is just leaving the arena as we speak, as dignitaries are beginning to leave and signifying the end of proceedings here at the National Heroes Acre. Now I'm joined by the son of the music legend, Dr. Oliver Mtukudzi, Selma Mtukudzi. Selma, today is a very important day for you, obviously. How are you feeling?
I'm excited to be here for the very first time. I'd never been, so I was happy to go around seeing all the heroes that are laying here, and I feel honored that our father was given this greatest honor in the country, and I'm super proud of what he did. I'm super proud of all the work. I just wish he could have known and seen this before he passed. That's my little wish, that if there could be some hero status that's given to people while they're still living, so that they'll be proud and show off and just let everybody know that we still have pride in our own country. We still have pride to be Zimbabwean.
It's quite interesting you say that, because in one of his songs where he pays tribute to other musicians that have departed, he poses the question, what is a national hero?
Yeah.
And you know, for the first time, we see a musician being declared a national hero. It must really be a great honor.
It's amazing. It's a great honor, and I'd like to take this opportunity and say thank you so much to the President for doing this. He made history. My dad made history, and together we're all proud of the achievements, proud of our country, and hopefully moving forward gives us also the inspiration to keep working hard and, you know, show off our country wherever we go.
The issue of being ambassadors obviously is very important. I was about to ask the importance of the youth, you know, in raising the national flag.
Yes, it's very important for us to have pride in who we are. I know my dad always used to say, just be proud of who you are, be proud of where you come from. So having seen this, what he did and how his country recognized all the efforts that he put in, it gives me pride in continuing to do good and continuing to raise the Zim flag high.
You came here with who today?
I'm here with my sisters, Samantha, Sandra, Sybil, and also my stepmom is here. So it's a day to celebrate the men that we all loved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Selma, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
The daughter of music legend Dr. Oliver Mtukudzi, who was declared a national hero in January. He became, Marion, the first, non-political figure to be declared a national hero, redefining really what a hero is in terms of contributing to the betterment of Zimbabwe.
Precisely, Blessing. And this has been a Zim Papers Television Network broadcast celebrating 39 years of independence, celebrating our heroes today right here at the National Heroes Acre. Of course, President Emmerson Mnangagwa being his second time presiding over the National Heroes Day in the Second Republic. Thank you so much for watching. This has been an amazing experience. People are now leaving the National Heroes Acre, celebrating, enjoying the festivities that are right here during the day. Blessing.
Definitely, it has been an absolute pleasure from Marion and myself. Thank you so much for joining us right here on Zim Papers Television Network. Do make it a point to visit our social media pages at Zim Papers TV Network. That's on Facebook, on Twitter at ZTN News, and our website ztn.co.zw. From Marion and myself, wishing you a lovely day.
Bye-bye.
As we celebrate Heroes Day and Defense Forces Day, let us take time to appreciate the sacrifices made for our freedom. Freedom to chart our own economic course.